say preparation is a choice. You can choose to do it or not do it. If you don't do it, you've chosen not to do it, right? And we want to make sure that we're as prepared as we can be because we don't know what's going to happen. I mean, when I say preparing for impact, this lady is on fire. She practically vibrates while she's standing still. She's highly energetic. I don't know how much she sleeps. It can't be much. The last dean we had, Dean Starr, he was, we thought he was energetic. The guy slept like 2, 3, 4 hours a night. He was all over the country all the time, on the phone, texting, emailing. We didn't even know he could text. But he was going gangbusters. And then we meet Dean Taha, and they've been friends for 25 years, and he's kind of apologizing for how energetic she is. So anyway, we thought, well, we better get our stuff in order. So there's our Wordle for the day. This is what we're going to try and shoot at. And we'll be done in less than an hour, I promise. By the way, I wanted to ask, is anybody disappointed we're not talking about student printing? John? Okay. All right. First off, I want to talk about position. You want to position yourself for success, and that's the whole point of preparing. Who is it that said, know thyself? And I'm going to use a quote. It was one of those Greek guys. Who was it? Socrates? I get him and Aristotle mixed up. Different guys. We took some time to really study our own operation, see, what is it that we're doing? There's only 7 of us, but we're all going in different directions. We have a web guy, we have a media guy, we have a guy who does graphic art as well as classroom tech support. We have a server administrator guy. We have a guy that we call a systems architect and information consultant. We let the guys pick their own titles sometimes. You probably don't know David Dickens, but once you meet him, you will know him. He's here today. Who am I missing? Oh, we have Carlton.
Me, yeah.
Anyway, we're all going gangbusters. People are always asking us stuff. If there's a cord attached to it, we're doing it. If there's a cord disconnected from it, somebody calls us, and we have to tell them, well, there was never a cord associated with this thing. So we took some time and we mapped our operation. We did a a mind map of everything, and it was completely overwhelming. Which I thought, okay, this is bad and good, right? We probably won't show this to the dean, but it sort of helps us remember what we were up to. We went ahead and oh shoot, I can't scroll through this, can I? And we reviewed our budget situation. We reviewed our classroom technology, which is sort of our point of pain at the law school. And we put together our annual report early, because usually it's due at the end of the fiscal year, which is July 31st for us. So we started working on that in April. We got the guys to freshen up their resumes. We want resumes from all you guys. What's going on? Just trying to regroup and collect all our information about ourselves, so we could be ready for when the dean showed up. And then we were fortunate in that Dean Taha has written a lot. She's written some on the issue of legal education, mostly from the position of a jurist. But before she was a jurist, she was at University of Kansas Law School, and she'd written on legal ed there. And we thought, probably be good to know what her position is on legal education and what's important to her. So we put together a little study group, and we sat in a circle, and everybody looked at each other, and no one had any ideas. But we did read the stuff. And we spent some time also prepping our team. Hey, new dean in town, let's mind our P's and Q's. Resources.
Well, can I stop you before? Just in addition to kind of our positioning and gathering a good understanding of what we had, did you mention that we went and made our SWOT list?
Oh, yeah.
We thought that it would be, are you guys familiar with the SWOT list?
1980s, hit higher ed in the 90s, and then we did it in the 2000s.
Yeah. So I think someone said he's not. What do they stand for again? It's strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, I believe. So we went through that, and surprisingly, especially for me, that revealed a lot of stuff to us. It revealed a lot of things that we had thought about, and sometimes, you have these thoughts in the summer, and this is something that we got to do to improve our operations, or this is something that we have to do to improve, our classroom technology, and then the rush of the school year hits, and you don't forget it or remember it, and maybe not for the next summer or the next after. So the SWAT was really something that was beneficial for us as a unit, as a team.
And we got everyone involved, too.
Yeah. And then our classroom tech survey that we get from our university at large, it comes out, every summer, every spring. And that also gave us some real solid feedback that we were able to transfer into our overall comprehensive list of kind of who we are and what we're about, where we stand.
Just as an aside, has anybody heard of TechQual? You've heard of LibQual? Well, there's a TechQual also, and it's quite good. This project was started by our CIO at Pepperdine. Mm-hmm. And it's a free service that you can use to survey your customer group. And it's really cool. And you can compare yourself against other institutions. You can drill down within your institution. So we got the drill down for the law school. And they surveyed faculty, staff, and students. And we can see where our pain points are. And they do this kind of cool radar graph.
How do you spell that?
TECHQUAL. Yeah, do a quick search for it. It's very cool. It's very powerful. I forget how many schools he's got in there now. I think it's over 60 colleges and universities.
Did your school have trouble, did your people, though, have trouble distinguishing between your main campus IT and your law school? Because we also did the tech call, and a lot of the things that we got dinged for have absolutely nothing to do with us.
Let me answer that carefully.
I would expect
Hopefully, fortunately for us, no, we did not have a problem with that. We have consistently, we've been doing this since 2008, and we've been consistently in the green zone or the blue zone, whatever the good zone is, but we're not filling up the customer expectation, but we're meeting minimum expectations, so that's pretty good. And that's the way this thing works. But it also has highlighted pain points for which we're not responsible, and that's funding for our classroom technology. So the only red point I think we have, and that's where we're not meeting expectations, is in the classroom tech. So it's a huge help. And we have a really good working relationship also with the university IT, and they help us out of a lot of stuff. I don't know if we help them much, but they help us a lot.
And our information services group in the School of Law is separate. So we get our own, kind of report.
Yeah, we report up through the library.
Yeah, and so that's good at times.
You good?
Yeah.
So just a quick note on resources. Because of the facility that we deal with at Pepperdine, being a 1978 building, lots of concrete floors, very little conduit and cabling, it's a huge frustration for us to try to support our faculty. We don't have computers in the classroom lecterns. Everything is carried in and carried out. So when we mention resources to our new dean or to any leader, we have to be careful not to be sour grape people. We have to be positive and just present the things that we can do. And our attitude has been, and I think it's an appropriate attitude, is we can do anything you want, anything, with the caveat that we need proper time, resources, and that's the caveat that swallowed the declaration. But we're pretty much a can-do operation, and we've been able to pull off all kinds of cool stuff because we got a couple of really bright guys and a lot of cables in some little boxes. And I'm sure no one else here has that experience, except for most of us. Viewpoint. When moving up to meet the dean for the first time or briefing someone to meet the dean for the first time, we need to remember that this is a person coming to probably a different place. I mean, some of you probably have internal candidates that became dean. How many of you had internal candidates become dean? A couple guys? In our case, Dean Taha came from Kansas, and now she's in Malibu, which is a big culture shock for her. She seems to be handling it well.
She did get one of the best condos on the university.
Yeah.
The view's nice.
At any rate, some people volunteered to help her unpack, so that's probably not a bad thing. But we want to keep in mind that when a new leader moves into a position, what can end up happening is it becomes like a tag team wrestling match where the dean stays on the mat and 1,000 people come in and try to attack them with their special, private, personal interest issues. And we don't want to be one of those people. We'd like to be the cut man in the corner or something and providing the assistance that she needs. So we try to place ourselves in her shoes. We don't want to be the needy jerk that's got the sucky situation in the classroom. We just want to present the facts and give her the opportunity to acclimate. We want to be the able ally, if you will.
We were pretty fortunate, like Phil mentioned. In this case, Dean Taha is a really personable lady, and she's also pretty open to receiving anyone and everyone. So if it was one of our guys who was just coming into our office for cable management, or if it was Phil or our law library dean preparing to talk with her about different things, she's a pretty gracious person. But we were pretty cognizant that we wanted to make sure she viewed us in a light that wasn't, here comes some folks asking for something right away. We really wanted to make sure that we came to her and said, hey, this is what we want to do for you, and that's anything that you want us to do. That was really kind of the ethos of our topics coming across to her.
How many of you have a long history at your school? I'm at 19 years. And do you have that fear that maybe I've been here a little bit too long and they're going to realize we need some new blood? What's going on with this guy? Ben, it's time to move on.
I know. I'm coming to Pepperdine.
Thank God I could finally go. No, I love it at Pepperdine.
Just for the record.
That's right. So why is it a good thing that you've been at your school for so long? You want to make sure that you attach, some message in your meeting with the dean to show your worth and why your history at the institution, long history at the institution, is a benefit and not a detriment. Did you repeat the first year 19 times, or did you learn something along the way? Do you understand the Byzantine budget process? I just learned that I don't understand the permitting process with respect to electrical modifications in the classroom. But not totally my fault, by the way. But we just had a little something blow up. But why is your tenure at the school a benefit to your dean? And that's a question that only you can answer. That's not right. That many people can answer. Hopefully you can answer it in a positive way.
We talked about, like we said, Phil, going on, really technically you've been at Pepperdine for, when you count law school, 22 years. And
I did have a brief time away, but I was sucked back in.
Right.
It's called unable to reach escape velocity.
So with Phil having such a long history, knowing a lot of people, having a lot of good relationships, and then you have, we wanted to also leverage some of our newer folks on our team and how maybe there were some different contributions that we found that we could bring as well. So we had a lot of dialogue that wasn't always cordial. Sometimes it was more aggressive, or a lot of times it was...
Or corrective.
Corrective, it could have been. But we found it to be valuable because for all of our experiences, there was a lot more value in the variety than just in just one person or so. And I think that ended up being a great thing, because the one thing that we feel like conveys positively to any new dean coming in is loyalty. And when you have a history like Phil's had, you can talk about, amongst all the practical things, that loyalty being a strong commitment to the university, and in our case, to the School of Law.
And we have a very cohesive team too, because I think probably everybody here has experienced this, when you get thrown into a project that you weren't properly briefed on and you don't have the resources to do, you're essentially forged together in fire, the crucible of, well, blank. So that was, we're going to talk about the preference. Find out what your dean's preferences are, how they like to be approached, how they like to be addressed. Our Dean Taha says, I'm not Dean Taha, I'm just Danelle. Her first name is Danelle. I haven't learned that yet. You know, we're going to go with the honorific for a while until she really stamps it out, I think, for at least for the foreseeable future. We'll give her 90 days anyway. But how does this person like to receive proposals or requests? Or do you want 3 or 4 options? Do you want 3 or 4 options with a strong recommendation for one of them? Do you just want the one recommendation? I don't know. Some of you have probably done consulting. I know when I first started my consulting back in the 90s, I would give people probably too many options. And I eventually learned that I was working with law firms, that they just wanted, just tell us what we should do. And in our case with an appellate court judge, do you want like an oral argument? Do you want a brief? Should we do a combo? And we still don't know how that works. We're kind of gingerly trying to figure out how she likes to be approached on that. But she was very clear on some things. She referred to her BlackBerry as a crackberry, so we knew instantly, we're getting you a BlackBerry. And we said PC or laptop, and she was very clear on that one. Both, please. And by the way, iPad 2 would be nice with 3G. So we're kind of feeling our way through this. We did end up talking with some folks at her court. How do we support her? And do we do it for her? Does she want to know how to do it and help her through that? It's a little fuzzy, but we're figuring it out.
We got some pretty good real-world experience with Dean Taha right away because obviously once she signed and was official, communication was of the essence. So like Phil said, we found out that she's a BlackBerry person. And we had to go through, I don't know how it is at your institutions, but at Pepperdine, there's no stipend for, well, there is a stipend actually, but
there's no university.
The university doesn't own the laptop or the cell phone. So she had to basically have things set up. And with her finishing her cases that she had before she officially retired and then moving on, she had a lot on her plate. And in our phone calls to her, I think she was driving on the way to Colorado.
I did a conference call with a senior Verizon rep and the judge as she was in the car with her husband driving to Colorado to visit grandkids. And we went through the drive-thru together. So we've bonded a bit.
Yeah. Not many, at least not many deans that I know that will order a number 3 combo meal in front of you, on the phone. So, good lady. But anyways, she was of the mindset, we'd like you guys to take care of everything. Just, here's my credit card information, I'll talk to them and give them access, but you guys please take care of it all. And so that's what we did. We went ahead and got everything done. We delivered it all, made sure that it was all ready and available for her. As a matter of fact, I believe we sent her phone to her while she was still in Kansas. And that was what she wanted, and that worked well for her. Now, since she's returned and got to us at Malibu, she decided that she doesn't need the laptop. The iPad's working for her pretty well, so she's got a desktop in her office, and she's given us back the laptop, which we will repurpose, and that works great. But we feel like we've kept her reasonably happy with the early part of the accommodations that we have for her.
Next. It said that inquiry is the most effective mode of influence rather than advocacy. So the line of reasoning is that ask questions. How do you, like we were saying before on preference, how do you like to be supported? In this case, here's the issue. What is the most important thing in your mind with respect to this faculty member's request or whatever? We want to kind of figure out what your thought process is as a dean. And, we also want to come into the position of, how do we support your goals as dean? What are the main things, as opposed to coming into the room immediately saying, our classrooms suck and we need to fix them. And I don't know if you see that's kind of a theme with us. We're trying very hard not to say that that way. Dean Taha has already made several rather strident comments to senior university officials, essentially agreeing with us. So we don't really have to sell that one too hard.
One other thing was the specifics. I think it's pretty easy to find out some specifics about, do you want to use a BlackBerry or iPhone? But the other thing that we found was helpful was asking our dean about her broader goals, her overall view, and how she plans to lead the School of Law for us. And in that, I think there's a lot of things you can kind of extrapolate out, but that seemed to be, we fortunately had, like Phil mentioned earlier, the document on some of her views on legal education, and that was really helpful to kind of get an understanding of her broader picture in terms of how she's going to be, I want to say governing the law school, but that's...
Lead us. Yeah,
how she'll be leading us.
One of her big things is civility in the practice of law, so we know that that's a big issue. Fundamentals in legal education, not being super focused on, specialty areas, which is kind of interesting because we just spent the last 6 years building up specialty areas, and I think one of them got like a $20 million grant. So we're curious how that's going to work out. So how do you want us to approach the Newt Bar Institute? Because they're asking for a lot of stuff, and they just got a $20 million grant, but they're not spending any money. So how are we going to do this? You guys have all heard speaking truth to power. How many practice that? A couple people. Is it an intrepid exercise? Yeah.
Can be, right?
So.
Can you sugarcoat it a little bit? Yeah, I would say that.
I think you have to be polite and
yeah.
I would say speaking the best truth.
Yes, the best truth. I like that. Everything that I was looking at, in preparing for, management change and leadership, they're saying, be very clear about your resource requirements and, all this sort of thing. What I ended up with, my takeaway is make sure that the bad news is presented early. And don't try to make value judgments, but, if there's a situation, the dean needs to know about it. Whether it's somebody that's doing stuff that you can't really do anything about, which could damage the credibility of the institution or something, or we got a leak in our sump pump and the whole place is going to flood. I mean, those kind of things need to be brought forward, right? Maybe not to the dean, that one. But, so I say, be careful. Don't share your sour grapes, and be truthful. Oh, and don't flatter yourself too much. Not that that's a problem for me, but
we also wanted to make sure that we were mindful of our initial contact with the dean, making an impression, and obviously the first impression rule. And we knew that our subsequent impressions would either be working to repair a bad impression, which we were hoping that wouldn't be the case, or strengthen and kind of fortify what positive impression we did make. So amongst our abilities as a team, we have guys that are technically more gifted than they are maybe interpersonally, and then we have others that are maybe vice versa. So we were strategic at times about who would approach the dean or vice dean. I mean, it's probably logical, but it was something that we considered.
Good question over here.
Yes.
I'm curious, did you have any access to her before she was selected as dean? Did you get to interview her?
Yes, before the fuzzy front end we did get to meet with her. She actually called a meeting of all the departmental directors, and I was in that. And I'm sure that that was to help prepare for her acceptance and to find out what she should be asking for when she talked to the president. As far as, this is the situation at the law school, and this lady is very thorough, and she was like the chief academic officer at the University of Kansas before she went into the bench. Mm-hmm. So she is very experienced in higher ed administration. So she got the lay of the land really fast before she made the acceptance, and that was I participated in the faculty interview process, at least as a fly on the wall. I'm not a voting faculty member, but I attend the meetings as a librarian. And so I kind of got a sense of what kind of person she was there. Interesting fact, you know that Pepperdine University is affiliated with the Churches of Christ. Judge Taha is not. We know very clearly that she's a Methodist and that she's not going to change, which may not mean much to you, but it meant an awful lot to the people in the interview process. So I was like, oh, okay, this lady's pretty clear on just about everything. So.
Yeah, I guess my point is, sometimes you can, if you have access to them when there are definitely still one among candidates,
mm-hmm.
there's some value in being able to convey stuff about your law school situation with respect to this or that, including technology, in a different way than when they're the dean of parents.
Right. And we did get that chance. And
you don't think so?
No, we did get that chance.
Yeah.
There was a whole succession of meetings with different groups with her as a candidate, and there was a meeting with the deans, and she brought her husband, who was a very large man. His name is John, and I respect him completely. And I thought I was running late to the meeting. I go to where the dean's conference room where this is taking place, and the secretary she said, just go on in. And I went on in, and that was the meeting before with all the deans, and I was not invited to that meeting. And that's when I got to meet her husband, and it was a very pleasant meeting. Went back out, went back in when it was time for me to go in, ended up sitting right next to John, her husband, and whereupon I was asked to explain myself and talk about technology at the School of Law, and I expressed a little frustration with our classroom tech. And he commiserated with me, so it was nice.
And we also had the opportunity as a staff, because they had the director's level meeting, and then they had a larger staff meeting where, for us, Dean Taha, a candidate at the time, opened it up for any comments that people wanted to make. And we had kind of prepped our team that we didn't want to be the squeaky wheel, at least this early in the process. So we were maybe... that was purposeful. I don't think we made many comments. But more than anything, I think we were trying to gauge just how receptive she was to really and truly getting a lay of the land, or if she was the type of person that kind of had her mind made up and was going to see what she wanted to see. Like I said, that's not the case with Dean Taha.
And we all know as service people that you want to get feedback from your encounters, and so this is, just like that. Did my presentation make sense to you? Do I understand properly what you want me to do? As I understand it, I'm supposed to go out there, take the laptop away from Slick, who has 2 laptops, and tell him just to soak his head in something because we're going to have this one. Or do I nicely take it away from him, or do we just let him keep it? We have a one PC rule on the faculty, and a number of them have been collecting our equipment. So just go ahead and sign that out and not bring it back, kind of thing. We won't address that right away, probably. But it's helpful to clarify expectations, and that's what you want to do in any circumstance, but especially with respect to the senior leader at your institution. And we want to make sure that we let her know that the approaches that we've developed for support and that sort of thing were designed around the previous leadership. And if there's something that we need to change that works better with her methodology or works better with her philosophy with respect to service to faculty or students or staff, we're completely open to changing that to meet those requirements or those preferences.
And in addition to that, I think probably like a final part is we wanted to be really purposeful about closing the loop, if you will. So any of the requests or things we discussed, circling back with either Dean Taha or her secretary to make sure that things were done in a satisfactory method for her, or manner for her. So far, so good, but it's early.
Tim.
Just curious if there's anything that she asked for or requested that you were hesitant about trying.
Well, we're not a BlackBerry institution. We have a BlackBerry Enterprise server, but it's a separate charge from the department where we think that the iPhone is easier to manage and we have fewer problems with it. And pretty much if you set somebody up with an iPhone, they never come back with a problem. So that was like, but it was very quickly overcome. Oh, you like the BlackBerry. Wonderful, we'll get you exactly what you want. But so, you know, she's not an especially demanding or needy person with respect to technology. So we're fortunate in that respect.
Yeah. She's getting, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, well, the university manages one, so we just attach to that, but they also bill us for it. What's that?
Thank God that you don't have to.
Yeah. We know their phone number, and that's about as much as we know about it.
And she's getting more involved in kind of learning the existing procedures. For instance, we use ExamSoft, and we do it because the California State Bar uses it. And so she's learning about different things that are applicable for the state of California and how they tie to Pepperdine. And she's posed some questions and I've heard this about this vendor and this about this software. And so I think that'll be something we'll be dealing with a little bit more in the future. But for right now, everything's pretty smooth.
So we're building a relationship, right? We're not establishing some kind of roommate thing or anything like that. We want to build a positive working relationship and make her feel confident that we can take care of what she needs us to take care of. And in that vein, we need to take the long-term view. We want to make sure that we don't overstep, we don't overpromise. We want to underpromise and overdeliver. Am I stepping on another slide? But the idea is that it's important what we say and what we do for her. And we want to pick just a few vital issues to work with her now to sort of build that foundation and not come to her with piddly things like a faculty member's superfluous laptop acquisitions.
I'm going to go a little different direction, but I'll try to tie it. Does anyone know how long the average tenure of a deanship is right about now? Like just in kind of rough years? Correct, right. About 5 years. And so...
but if you count in interim deans, it's 3.5.
Yeah, right. So, and by no means are we thinking past Dean Taha when it comes to the fact that she might be moving on or anything like that. But that was very telling to me, was that this is a process that we're probably going to we're going to want to be good at. And we're going to, more than likely, for those of us that plan to stay at an institution for any number of years, we're going to have some turnover. And so it really makes sense to have this process be something that you put a lot of time into to develop so that it pays off for you as you go forward in your specific institution.
Our immediate supervisor is Herb Siak, who's the dean of the library. And I was talking to him about this, and he said, well, I've had 15 deans in 25 years. And,
6 different schools,
he was at
right?
6 different schools. And I'm on my 6th dean in 19 years. So I'm not sure if I'm trend bucking or not, but that's counting interims. So
About exactly average.
Yeah.
It's 3.5 of that.
Yeah.
6 of these. It's up to 21.
we want to seek early wins with our dean. Find the low-hanging fruit and just nail it. And I think we've done a pretty good job with that so far, but that helps to building your foundation. If you want a seat at the table, you got to have credibility, right? If you want to keep your seat, you got to keep proving it. And I think we've been able to do that that's really key to maintain that credibility. Our current CIO is very good at this kind of thing, and he'll tell you that you got to make the trains run on time, or nobody's going to talk to you. And I think that's really true. For us, Dean Taha with her BlackBerry, for Ken Starr, who was before, he's not really a technical guy, and he wanted to do a big PowerPoint. Boom, we were there. We made the whole PowerPoint start to finish. And that was for his first presentation to our Board of Visitors. And he was happy about that, except he was so happy that he said to my key staff member, Novita, you're my PowerPoint person. You'll be doing all my PowerPoints. And we're like, oh, geez. But we were blessed with the curse of success in that situation.
Conversely?
Oh, well, my brother is a manager of a manufacturing facility. They make lighting for commercial and residential. And he hired a guy. He hires a lot of people because he has a lot of line people in his factory. One guy called him his first day of work and said, I can't show up. I'm sick today. So we don't want to present that kind of attitude. That guy didn't make it to the second day. So my brother's words were, every job has its last day, and today it's yours. Lastly, sigh of relief, peripheral influence. We want to be aware of the people that have influence or relationship with our dean and not inadvertently mess it up for ourselves. So if you have someone who is a subordinate to you that lives next door to the dean or worships at the same church or is in the same club, it might be good to just be aware of that relationship and pay attention to that. Really, what it comes down to is be professional in all your interactions. But sometimes it's good to not let your guard down and maybe share exactly what you might be thinking. That sort of plays into the golden rule, and not the one where those with the gold make the rules, but the one where treat others as you prefer to be treated. But we are not aware of any such relationship yet.
Right.
But we're paying attention, trying to see what other points of influence might be out there.
It's been a little more difficult for us because with Dean Taha coming in from another state, there's one faculty person who is a senior faculty person at our school, and he actually was her teacher at University of Michigan, right?
I think so, yeah.
And so he's a guy who has a pretty good relationship with our boss, the law library dean. So we've peppered that faculty person about, is there anything you know about Dean Taha? He's a pretty matter-of-fact guy, and he kind of is like, well, I haven't talked to her in 20 years, just to say hi and Merry Christmas. So that wasn't much help. So we're covertly sometimes and not as covertly other times just trying to get to know her and sometimes just listen to see if we can pick up things and hoping that'll pay off for us.
Yeah, I'll say something. You got to be careful about when our last dean joined us, we had a member who had actually gone to law school with him, and everybody assumed that this would be the person that had insight into him, and that person sort of played up that he would have insight into him. It turned out not to have any insight. It kind of like the opposite.
Interesting.
That was the first person to leave the law school after the new dean arrived.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
So I guess you don't always
be
know
careful.
just because they have that history. It may
Yeah.
not be necessarily.
Yeah. That's a great point. Great point.
So, and there it is. It's mostly our choice, right? How we approach this. Our bosses have a lot to say about our success, and I know I don't have to sell it, but we got to be cognizant of how we present ourselves, because we don't want to be squashed by the meteor. Conversely, you can have great success, which we think we're on the track for. Thoughts? Is this marginally helpful?
I wonder if there is a difference in adjusting to a dean if it's their first time.
Great question.
At our school.
Yeah.
And also the difference if the person is the first dean that was not an internal faculty member who became a dean. I think that those are very different scenarios.
That's a great question.
My second dean was an interim dean before he was appointed. And he was a faculty member and was tapped to be the interim. Well, he was a faculty member and he was the academic dean. Then when our dean of the law school left, he was pushed into the interim dean position. Before that, we never had hardly any interaction with him from a technical standpoint or from, I mean, I installed Tetris on his computer for his daughter to play one time, and that was it. I mean, he was a very quiet person. Some of you may know him. He's the dean of John Marshall in Atlanta. Anybody here from John Marshall? Okay. But he's a wonderful guy, but he was kind of a quiet person. We didn't know him at all. So he was almost like a brand new dean because no one knew what to expect. And when he started, he said, no more paper memos, a lot of big changes. All the finances are above board now, where before no one knew what was going on. So we probably should have been more trepidatious about him becoming dean because we totally did not know what to expect with him. We just thought, oh, it's Richard. He's going to be quiet in his office. But he wasn't that way at all. He had a complete personality change. But our two deans from outside, when Dean Starr came, I was thinking, this guy is a big deal. We're gonna get slaughtered by him because I don't know if we can scale up to meet what his expectations are. We were able to do it, but it was a lot of work. He had 3 librarians running almost full time, and he was famous for podcasting. Within the university, he was one of the top podcasters. He didn't podcast anything. He spoke. And because our rooms are so low tech, we had staff making everything happen for him. We did the production, we did the post-production, and all that stuff manually. So that was interesting. I don't know if that addresses your question, but for us, it's trepidation either way.
Well, yeah, but I definitely know. I mean, I guess was it Dean Starr that kind of coined the baby bar or baby dean school rather?
Oh, yeah.
So for Dean Taha, we know that she just came back from this baby dean school, they call it, and
everybody sends their deans there, right? Yeah.
So we knew that there are going to be a lot of questions that we'll have to set up for her. Like she might not know just exactly coming from the bench. There might be a few different questions that we'll need to have versus someone who's already been in this legal education environment and knows some of those things. And I think that was something we kept in mind as we were preparing our packet, if you will. I'm searching for the right phrase because I almost said dumb down.
Oh, we did executive summaries at every point. So
thanks. Yeah.
Quick, short.
Does anyone have any editing? Do we have editing capabilities with this?
We have to make friends with the CALI people.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Do you find a big difference with an interim dean and a permanent dean and how they are willing to make decisions?
Yeah.
I think the role of the interim dean is to just keep the ship moving and not do any big changes. We had hopes. Our interim dean this past season was former chairman of the board of regents at the university who quit his law practice, decided to enter legal education, worked his way up through, got tenure, and then was tapped to be our interim dean. I thought if anybody could change the building, this guy could, but he wasn't going to do it in a year. It wouldn't have been wise probably for him to even try.
Right.
But focus on the building. Yes?
Have you ever felt that your ideas or suggestions are not appreciated by the dean?
If she doesn't appreciate them, she's very kind in how she responds to us. But that was probably true with Dean Starr as well. I mean, they're very gracious people. And as far as I can tell, everything that we've recommended has been taken, very seriously.
Well,
but we haven't done that much yet either.
But we could also say that there have definitely been some ideas or some urgencies that we saw it that frankly weren't priorities, and that's why we're still working to get some things done with older groups now, we're kind of coming back to this again and bringing things that we brought up 2 years ago or 3 years ago. We're
10 years ago or 15 years ago.
Yeah. We're bringing them up again, and we're thinking positive that things will go well.
There's been some significant rumblings at the senior levels of the university about our facility, so we're feeling hopeful about that. Any other thoughts or questions? Great. I think. Great.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks for your input.
Yeah, and if anyone is interested in maybe asking any other questions offline or
we put together a
still
checklist.
Here.
Yeah, we put together a checklist of stuff that we tried to run through when we were preparing for our dean's thing. If anybody's interested, we can share that, or we can put it on the website with the PowerPoint.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
All right.
Cool. Thank you. Cool. How do we turn this off?
We could kill system, but I'll take that first. Okay.
Oh, thank you, John.
Thank you.
How are things at Gonzaga?
Not too bad.
Gonzaga? Are you really? I know Spokane. Kind of okay. Yeah. Thanks.
You know, attached to the major bowl.